get better faster. Sometimes I show videos. Last time when I showed you a video from that. Hi. How are you? Good. Thank you for letting me be in your class today. One thing, I went back into Whetstone to look at your last action step, and actually Mia gave it to you. But it was about class discussions, which you talked about in your review as something you're continuing to work on. And it was continue to allow a variety of students to share their thoughts, respond to each other, build on each other's thinking, and by the end of the discussion, stamp the key takeaway. I actually felt like I saw evidence of all of that in your brief discussion, so you should be really proud of that. You called in a variety of students. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to get more people in general talking. That's going to be our focus for today. But you asked kids to build upon each other's responses, and you made a point to stamp the key understanding at the end of your mini lesson. How'd that feel?
Good. Yeah. It was a long time ago, so I think I kind of see it.
Yeah. What was the impact? What's the impact on students when you do that?
Stamp the final say. I think because there's so many ideas in the air, so I could see students, particularly our students, who have processing delays, might get confused as to what is the final thing that they're supposed to take away from that discussion. And by having that stamp at the end, then they're like, oh, right, that's what it is. Opposed to like thinking it might be from a different student who maybe didn't get 100% of the concept correct.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that you allow them to go on to practice, and they just have that key idea, which was really strong. That makes sense. What else did you feel like went well today?
I appreciated that Asasushi gave a nonverbal agreement with Angeline, and then she was able to build on it. I wish that there were more students who raised their hand or wanted to share out, but with that class we're starting to notice that when teachers speak, it's more of a white noise. That's why when I went to pick on Edward on when do authors write their introduction, he ended up saying what he thought opposed to the whole conversation that was happening, because we had like this white noise situation going on that when a teacher talks, the kids just kind of zone out.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense, and it's actually helpful because we're going to pivot a little bit and talk about student participation and engagement, where I want our focus to be today based on today's lesson, because I think discussion facilitation, you are using the right moves, but I think you're still getting that core group of kids who are participating and sort of guiding the class. So today I want to talk more about how you can get more kids in your class engaged. So when you think about your vision for a rich discussion in class, what does it look like?
That everybody has something to say.
Yeah.
From the question.
Yeah. That's a pretty clear and concise way to think about it. I listed like a variety of voices and specifically like students on different levels. So I felt like you mostly heard from your medium and higher level kids today, and you didn't, except when you cold called, you didn't hear any of the from the lower students, and neither of them were really able to like articulate their answers. I sort of did the heavy lifting there, but what would be the gap between what happened in your class today and what your ideal vision is for a robust discussion?
So robust discussion would have a variety of voices at different levels. Answering the question.
Totally. No, that's right. Yeah, and I think students building upon each other, which I think you're already pushing with habits of discussion right now. So I think that that's like less of a focus for today. So in thinking about your action step, I would say in order to improve student engagement and get more kids participating, embed time for small group conversations or turn talks, and also warm call as you're circulating. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that what that looks like in a minute as we kind of prepare to practice. But can you say that back to me? What is your action step going to be?
The action step is going to incorporate having students do small group conversations, and also as I'm circulating, warm call on someone.
Okay.
So participate.
Yeah, awesome. And how do you think that will have an impact on your discussion?
Yes, I think that'll have an impact on it. We try to, because we know who our kids are, like we try to do like jot down your thoughts first and then share out.
Which you did today, which was good.
But in the past we have done like a think, pair, share. Yes, I was just trying to think of the sequence. Think, pair, share, which has been successful with larger concepts. I just kind of feel like it was I think it was such a simple question. It was kind of tricky because they're like, well, introductions at the beginning. But they didn't really look past the introduction part and see like when the writer.
Yes, and I think like a larger thing that we won't get into as much today, and I think what you're getting at here too is that like, was this a question that was like worthy of a robust discussion? And I think you're probably right. In terms of this specific question, like turn and talk and think, pair, share, like those things would probably have drawn out a conversation that was more of even a quick hit than something that required it. So I'm with you, but I still think this strategy will hopefully help when you're getting to some of those meatier questions. Does that make sense? And I think just to give you a little context, like I think in terms of turn and talks and my rationale for your kids, I think that the more time that your lower level kids can hear in small group and process through some of these questions, meatier questions especially, the more likely they're going to be to participate and be active participants in the class. And they're not always getting it when they're just listening to you all talk, obviously. And for warm calling, like I think that is going to allow you to say, Hamza, I'm calling on you. And it's going to take some of your lower level kids who you see, because you were doing amazing active circulating, which was one of your steps before, and you were taking notes. So you're going to be able to know who has the right ideas and to be able to really push them to articulate those ideas out loud and to even say like, Hamza, I'm going to call on you, so make sure you have a why here, because I'm going to ask you. And I think that would have pushed him to be a more active participant. Cool. So on board?
On board.
Awesome. So we're going to do a quick practice. I think this is a little bit of a funky thing to practice, but I think it's just important for us to like build the muscle memory of what these conversations look like. So the goal is to practice a warm call, and so the criteria there would be while students are answering questions silently, circulate, identify a lower level student with the correct answer, and whisper that you're going to ask them to share. It's not brain surgery, but we'll practice it. Do you want to take a few minutes to wrap your head around that?
No, I got it.
You got it? Okay. I will practice once first because I'm going to make myself vulnerable before I ask you to do it. Okay. We're going to go based on the same question you asked today. So the question you're asking today is, when do writers write an introduction? Okay. Walk around. Naima. Great. That answer looks really good. I'm actually going to call on you out loud in front of everyone, so I want you to continue to write this answer and make sure you get the why. Okay? Awesome. What did you notice that I did?
You circulated. And then you came back to me, and then
you were my low-level student.
Okay.
I hate to tell you.
You came to me and said, listen, I like what you're saying here, but make sure you include a why, because I would like you to share out.
Okay, awesome. Seem like something you can get up and practice now?
Yeah.
I think so. You got this.
Ooh. Okay. Circulating. Oh wow, you're writing a lot. Okay, got some great ideas. I love your rationale for the introduction. Right? So when we come back together, I would love if you share it out the rest of the and
Scene. Awesome. I like that. I don't think there'd be anything to really redo. I think in the spirit of cold calling, I would just make sure you tell her, I'm going to cold call you. Because I think that the point of cold calling is to keep kids on their toes, right? And so they know, like, you never know, I might get called on. And so I think the idea that you're going to actually have me, like, it's going to look like It wasn't set up, but it is a little bit of a setup. So maybe making that a little more explicit. Cool. So what would you add? Would you add anything to the action step based on the practice?
No.
The funky thing about this action step is it's sort of like, in order to improve student engagement, there are two things to do, and we just practice one of them, but embedding turn and talks and then the warm call.
Maybe that's difficult to do with 2 people.
That is. So that's why I figured we would just
But
practice
the
that.
turn and talks and stuff, like I've done that before.
Yeah.
And
And April, who was in there today, also mentioned like even just the whole group debates. And one thing that can be really positive is getting a little bit off of our specific ops feedback, but is to like have you and Hilda sometimes model what that looks like. So even at the beginning of the lesson, when you all were having kids explain their topic and their subheadings and give feedback, even for you to play a student and say, this is what this looks like, and model it, and then have students practice their tables, I think just gives more kids a voice.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. Okay, thank you, Naima. Oh, I'm gonna be back on Friday, and I'll check up.
Okay.
Sound good? Yeah. Thank you.